December 8th, 2020, Drutter here. A day after Christmas has been cancelled here in Canada. Now we are capping off a year in which the most crazy of conspiracy theorists, I count myself in that group, have been proven correct on everything that they had been saying for years. And now in Canada today, it has been announced that there will be a restriction on travel, work, sport, recreation, culture, etc. They don't specifically mention buying and selling, because maybe that would get people's hairs on the back of their neck up too quickly, but all these things will require a national ID card that shows that you have been vaccinated against COVID-19. And it is being referred to as very important and, quote, essential by the government announcement. So if they're saying that on the get-go, you can imagine what it is eventually going to morph into. This has been the technocrats' wet dream for generations, and they're now getting it on the backs of this pandemic. And the exact method is still to be announced, some kind of chipped card or smartphone app, of course a national database to go along with that. They say that it is a technology to track who has and hasn't had their shots. So very important to be able to show you have had your shots. A reminder, this vaccine, we don't even know why it's called a vaccine. It's really not a vaccine. It doesn't have any of the ingredients of a traditional vaccine. It's not made in the same way. It doesn't use the same technology as any other vaccine in the past. And they even admit it doesn't work as a vaccine. It has no function as a vaccine. They say they don't know if it protects you from infection. And if you get infected, they don't know if it stops you from passing it on. So it's not a vaccine. It's a product. It's a rushed mRNA product from a big pharma company. Now, do you trust these people? I don't. And as a conspiracy theorist and, quote, paranoid person for so long, I have been proven right on all this. I said all this was happening, and it is happening. It's now official. A national database with cards or an app. Of course, moving more and more toward the app, but if you're going to resist and have a chipped card, of course, that will do just fine to keep track of you and keep tabs on you. What about other viruses? Are we going to have an HIV database and chipped cards so we can, go to nightclubs and fetish bars and orgies and things safely? Are we going to have Epstein-Barr virus? I mean, that's far more deadly than COVID, and it kills far more people every year, and there's no vaccine for that, so most people don't even know that it goes around killing us. Most of us even already have it. I think 95% of us have Epstein-Barr virus. What about all these other viruses? What about other illnesses? Are we going to have cards for all those, or maybe just one card? They're talking about a health pass app, and that will be all of your viruses and all your illnesses all contained in one, to show that you're not contaminated, you're not infectious, and that you've had all your booster shots and everything up to date, and you're allowed in to wherever you're scanning into or tapping into. And it's going to be increasingly mandatory, without using the word mandatory, because they know that people are watching for that. Even the common person is watching for mandatory anything, right? That's not right. We live in a voluntary society. Most people still believe. And they know that we're watching for that. And they aren't using the word mandatory, but it is becoming more and more mandatory. They're saying now it's essential. That's very, very close to mandatory in my opinion. And that's just from the get-go. Of course, as we go, it's going to become more and more ubiquitous, and you're going to need it for everything. It's going to be part of life. You are going to have to scan or tap in. Maybe they'll just put the chip right in us before too long, but like I said, people are watching for that, so maybe they'll go a little slower on that. But that's eventually the goal, is we will each be identified in some way and nobody will have any kind of freedom or anonymity of any kind. And that's, sure, a conspiracy theory, but I have been right about all of this all along, since the beginning, and I've been doing this for 15 years. And this is all part of something they call Agenda 21, or now it's being called Agenda 2030, I believe. Doesn't matter, it's all the same thing. It is a control and depopulation agenda. And that's another conspiracy theory for you that we can talk about coming true in a very short time. Maybe not on this channel on YouTube, but maybe on one of my alternative platforms like Library, Odyssey, BitChute, Brand New Tube, Float, 3Speak, and more. Talk to you guys soon. Stay well, and hopefully have a Merry Christmas.